I don't want to fucking be here anymore. I'm tired of feeling the way that I feel. Just cut it out. I want to get on with my life. I was that low and I was that desperate. And that's what I speak to when I coach people because I know what it's like. I just wanted to get on with my life and whatever the solution was.
In my early 20s, my sense of identity and self was being the guy who could like run up a mountain. You could be so obsessively attached to something external to yourself. I was so imbalanced, desperate, and overly attached to sort of a sense of identity of self that I felt really vulnerable. Like, who am I if I can't run up a mountain?
What is obsession? It is utter focus and then massive action combined with it. We put a negative lens on obsession, which there can be, but it's based off of what it's in, not the obsession itself.
And I'm just convinced if you're not obsessed, if you're not fully in love with your craft or the thing you're trying to pursue, then there's a million people that are, and they're gonna blow right past you. And I think about that with everything, even in my own life.
It helps you turn away from all the frittering temptations. They're all over the place. The invitations, what you could do with your time, it's just like an infinite sea of possibilities. And unless you have a bright star, they're gonna attract you. Obsession to me is almost like a continual renunciation. Like, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you. It's like a continual letting go in a way.
The body, the mindset, the visceral fat, the gut biome that we all dream of, and $1 million bank account. You can't have it all, but you've got to become obsessed. Well, I'll just say, Rachel, thank you so much for being here. For people that don't know Racheer Scheer, this is one of the most dynamic women out in the marketplace today. It is really cool to watch her rise, watch her like gain power. Rachel is a certified functional medicine nutritionist. Now, that's a big word right there. Bottom line, the way I look at it is she is helping so many people. She's helping me. She's helping people all across the world. She's built this incredible personal brand. She has such a bright light, and she attracts so many people that are looking to up their game, better their life, maybe fix problems they don't even realize they have. So often you'll see someone that finally has this magical moment, and it's usually when they meet someone like Rachel that the light switch goes on. You don't know why you're not feeling good or why you're not performing at your best. So Rachel's story is incredible. I know the story. I can't wait to like get her to pull it out for our audience. But Rachel, I'm really excited to have you here. We've already had so much great conversation in the pre-show banter, right, producer? We have. And none of it was about health.
Another one on speaking in business. Yeah.
Yeah. So somehow we'll connect all these dots. But welcome to the show, Rachel. This is Man on a Mission, Woman on a Mission, Human on a Mission. We love mission-driven people for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm smiling ear to ear.
Rachel.
You guys can't see it possibly if you're listening to the podcast.
See it. Yeah, I can see it on the screen.
Yeah.
But Eric and Matt, it's a pleasure to be here and connect with both of you. I've been inspired by your journey, Eric, and of course I'm just getting to know you, Matt, but I've watched you for a while and really grow this mission. It's a powerful mission, and I think what's so cool about you is I can really see the passion behind what you're doing. You know, that's a big difference between just like getting online and posting content. But like for somebody who's had that same fire in my belly, I can like see that in other people. So it's like, it's very like attractive in a lot of ways. Like we're driven to people who are like on a mission, on fire. They got that fire in their belly. And I've been able to watch that from you. And I'm like, ooh, this is going to be big. And even for like me to be able to see that. So thank you for letting me be a part of this today.
Yeah, what a gift. What a thank you.
That reminds me of something you said kind of as an opener question, Rachel, I caught in one of your reels. It had to do with that. Like when you've been through the thing and nobody can, I can't remember how you put it. It was like nobody can compete with your own personal hardship experience and your authority of your own passion, so to speak. Like, so maybe as an opener, Eric mentioned he knows your story, and I know a little bit of it in prepping for the show, but let's start there before you've grown an incredible business, incredible brand. You're serving thousands of people, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to...
Go to the pain.
Yeah, like you had a really scary confrontation. Almost had a major health loss, and at least a little bit I've gleaned. But where did this all begin?
Yeah, and before I jump into that, I'll share. I think I know the reel that you're talking about, and what I was saying is you can't compete with somebody who's walked through the fire, right? You can't compete with somebody who's been there. The type of coach who's like, I know where you've been before. I was that person. I was that person who was struggling, who was on medication, who just wanted to give up. I was that person, and I've been able to heal through it. And I've been able to get to the other side. And the coach who can come from that perspective, the other coaches can't compete with them because it's their story, it's their mission. They've been on the other side of
So
it
good.
before. And I
That
believe
is.
that's what's made my brand so powerful, and how we've been able to now help over 5,000 people taking a root cause approach to their health is because, I was there myself.
Yeah.
I didn't know the meaning of health, to be honest, until I lost it. I used to be a fitness model and a bodybuilder. I was the cover of magazines. I was Racheer Scheer, six-pack abs. Like, that's what I was known for. And if you were to ask me then if I was healthy, I would say, yeah. I mean, come on, look at me. I'm a sexy metabolic beast.
Yeah.
Like, I was shredded, and everybody wanted my quote unquote body. But I realized later on that I wasn't. I wasn't healthy. I was counting every morsel of food that I ate. My whole sense of worth came from my physical body. And I was only looking at health from the perspective of being physically fit. And after competing in bodybuilding for 3 years, back to back, 10% body fat, again, looking great. But I started to struggle a lot with health issues at that point. And I started to battle severe gastrointestinal issues. I started to battle hormonal imbalances, thyroid issues, and severe depression and anxiety. And for me, I was like, what the heck is going on? I'm the epitome of health. But I did what most people would do in that scenario and what we're taught, right? Go to the doctor, right? Something's off. I'm not feeling good. So I went to the doctor, excuse me, and they did every scan that they could, colonoscopy, endoscopy, CT scan, MRI, and everything came back, quote unquote, normal. I was the picture of perfect health again, besides the fact that I had a bit of a sluggish thyroid, so they put me on thyroid medication. And for that next year, I continued to just get worse and worse and worse. And I couldn't eat anything without being in massive pain. I remember actually one day just lying on the kitchen floor, crying, bawling my eyes out, afraid to eat.
Wow.
But knowing that I needed to eat because I was so malnourished, especially coming from being at 10% body fat. I couldn't go out. I couldn't date. Not to mention, like, restaurants was like the scariest thing ever to me because food hurt every time I ate it.
Gosh.
And I was very adamant, though, for getting answers. I wasn't that person who was sitting back and was just like, okay, cool. Like, I was the person who like, all right, let's figure this out. So I spent that whole year also going from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist. I was eventually put on antidepressants because of the depression. I was put on anxiety medication. I was put on thyroid medications for my hypothyroidism, and then laxatives because of my inability to actually use the restroom, which I can talk about openly because I talk about gut health now.
Sure.
But I just got worse and worse and worse. And I actually at one point had to use an enema to even go to the restroom at all anymore. And it was like my health was completely betraying me. My body was betraying me in a lot of ways. And for somebody whose whole life, for me at least, had been really wrapped up in my physical body, it was like I lost myself through it all. And I even went to the Mayo Clinic, like the top physicians in the United States.
Right.
They did testing and still was just given a diagnosis of IBS or irritable bowel syndrome and medication and sent on my way. And it was shortly after that that I was sent to a colorectal surgeon who then told me my only solution was to remove my entire large intestine.
No way.
It's just remarkable. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you may think, like, everyone who hears that's like, that's insane. Like, you're probably like, no way. Actually, in that moment, I was like, cool.
Let's do
When
it.
can we schedule the
Yeah,
surgery?
it's fix
No,
this shit.
I didn't know that. You
Yeah.
actually were willing.
Yeah. I was like, cool, let's
You
schedule
trust
it.
doctors,
How
right?
soon can we do this?
Sure.
I don't want to fucking be here anymore. I'm
with
tired of
you.
feeling the way that I feel.
Wow.
Let's go.
Just cut it out. I want to get on with my life. I was that low and I was that desperate. And that's what I speak to when I coach people, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to want the quick fix. I know what it's like to just say, give me the medication. I know what it's like to be frustrated and feel like nobody's really your advocate, just being passed around from doctor to doctor. I know what it's like.
Sure.
And I just wanted to get on with my life. And whatever the solution was in front of me was cutting out my large intestine. And
I just want to pause.
Yeah.
I want to relate to that. So I ran college cross country and track, just a walk on. But I was so in my early 20s, my sense of identity and self was being the guy who could like run up a mountain, do triathlons. And my ankle, I would keep running on an injury. And I was literally, I was like, I wonder if life would be better if I just cut off my foot and got like a metal foot. Like I get it. Like the momentum and you could be so obsessively attached to something external to yourself for your fulfillment and I understand through your story, you since have discovered what is true health and wellness and disease, and it's really expanded your whole worldview and you serve people through it. But I can relate to that. And I just, as a listener, like if you're in the fire, like Rachel said earlier, I think there's something profound about being willing to see this whole situation differently. I once heard a prayer like, pray to see the thing differently. Like if you're really stuck, because I was to the point where like a stupid young man, like I should just cut off my foot or have it cut off and put like a metal foot. Like I was so imbalanced. Yeah, it's like desperate and overly attached to sort of a sense of identity of self that I felt really vulnerable. Like, well, who am I? Who am I if I can't run up a mountain,
I get that sentiment. And I like that this is coming from a person that already has high standards, very disciplined human. So Rachel's already like one of these people that's trying to perform at top levels. Do you know what I mean? This isn't coming from someone who's lazy or is careless. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's following all the rules and this is still happening. Frustrating, unfair.
Paradigm of health. And
yeah. I bet Rachel will expand upon this, but now that I'm sort of in this space of personal development, trying to optimize everything in our lives, including health, being one of the primary, first primary goals really is to get you feel good. But so many people out there, Rachel, this message is going to resonate with because they don't feel good. People in America feel like shit. More often than not, it's what I come across. Even people that look healthy, appear healthy. I just saw a coaching call. My buddies tell me I have this crazy fatigue. Like I can barely get out of bed. I can't play with my kids, and he looks healthy.
Yeah,
on
the surface they appear
business
well.
slayer. Yeah, right. He's doing all the things right. So I know this conversation. I can already see it's teed up so nicely, especially coming from someone like Rachel.
Yeah.
What's even more crazy is some people don't even know that they feel bad because that's their normal.
That's their normal.
That's so true.
I've worked with a lot of people who, they're like, I feel pretty fine. I feel good.
Sure.
And then we actually get them to feel how they're supposed to feel every single day. And they're like, man, I didn't realize I actually felt like shit and what it's like to actually feel good. And I think most people don't know what it's like to truly feel good.
It's so true. You posted something, Rachel, about like when you actually eat like a great meal, and then if you deviate from it, it feels like, like once you're used to it. As a father, like we have 4 kids, and this is amazing to see. I mean, they'll grab a piece of candy, but we feed them so well that my wife and I just watch them. They have their own decisions. Like a 10-year-old will be like, oh man, I'm not touching that, because he already knows like that's just going to make him feel like crap. And at 10, I don't have any memory of this. I just would have chowed whatever was in my vicinity. I mean, it's a profound distinction. Once you know health, you have an aversion to the things that destroy it.
Yeah. I ate out of a vending machine as a child. I remember like I would live for like those little cheese and crackers. If I was at the laundromat with my mom and I was good, I'd get to pick one thing out of those vending machines.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my mom was still a kid. It was a single mom, but yeah, I mean, that's good parenting, I feel like, is that if a kid like can have a choice and make a healthy choice, somehow that resonates to a very good parenting. Not saying you're not if you don't, but like, man, that's a cool discipline to.
I grew up eating McDonald's and stored Halloween candy. Like I actually grew up eating like terrible food because I had zero parental supervision. Like I was that kid who could be gone for days. Then I'd come back and be like, I'm back. And they're like, what? You were gone? And I was like,
where were you?
Yeah.
Well, and
where
health
were
was
you?
different back then. When I grew up in the 80s.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I was born in '84, but even then, like health was
It just
not. We don't even know anything what we were doing. We had no
no,
idea the diseases we were slowly causing. And
Well, we're seeing the fruits of that. They're all Rachel's patients now.
chemicals everywhere.
Well, I went to the other extreme, then I think that's what got me into nutrition, because I was an athlete, I was a gymnast and dancer, and I had this like epiphany of like, maybe if I change my nutrition, I could perform better. Interesting. And
So
then
where-
I went to Baylor for nutrition and dietetics, initially wanting to go into like athletic performance, and I got into bodybuilding, as a byproduct of it, but
Sure.
never thought I would get into functional medicine for sure.
Yeah. Wow. So you take us back to where you were. You're in this. You're willing to be like, all right, cut it out. Like, what happened?
Yeah. I'm sitting in the doctor's office and I'm ready to give up. Like, I just want to get on with my life. But, in that moment, I felt like God spoke to me.
Hmm.
And God said, you're going to heal.
Hmm.
That there's another way. And I left. And my new obsession just
Amazing.
became about learning everything that I could about the gut microbiome.
Yeah.
And I stayed up for hours every single night researching. I did different elimination diets. I learned more about functional medicine and taking a root cause approach. And I self-implemented a lot of different things. I had to make massive lifestyle changes, which Western medicine wasn't telling me to do. No one actually looked at my nutrition. No one looked at what was happening in my life. If someone would have actually taken the moment to say, this girl has been competing in bodybuilding, she's at 10% body fat. If they looked
Yeah.
at my nutrition, which was very macro friendly, but I won't say gut friendly at the time, and if someone actually had gotten to know me, it was actually very obvious, like
Yeah.
what was going on, but nobody actually did. And for me, I'm just following what we're taught to do. I go to the doctor, they do their scans, let the doctors do their thing. And I'm by no means against Western medicine. But I think the issue that we're talking about here is when it comes to a lot of these chronic health issues that are rooted in lifestyle, the option that we are presented with is really a band-aid approach, right? So IBS, for example, that's irritable bowel syndrome. Basically, they give you that diagnosis based off of, you don't have ulcerative colitis, Crohn's. There's nothing that they can see going on. So it's based off of symptom clusters. Your symptoms tell you that you have IBS. Now we're going to manage the symptoms. The same things with chronic depression. They diagnose that based off of symptom clusters. You fit all of the criteria for major depression disorder. So we should probably medicate you, where we know in functional medicine there are many root causes for depression. Micronutrient deficiencies, there's situational things that can happen, hormonal imbalances, thyroid issues, the gut-brain connection, toxins that can cross through the blood-brain barrier. There's so many different things that can lead to it, but Western medicine doesn't necessarily look at these chronic health issues in this type of a way. And it's very unfortunate, and I was a byproduct of that. And for me, it took taking massive ownership, number one, over my health, saying like, I'm going to heal. I became obsessed with it.
And
And I
learn.
believe that's what you have to
Yeah.
do when you want something. You have to become obsessed with it. And I became obsessed
Agree.
with healing my body. And that's what led me into functional medicine, learning so much about the gut microbiome. And many of my core issues were stemming from an imbalance in my microbiome.
Yeah.
I had something called dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of the gut bacteria. And not to mention, because I had low thyroid, because of my body composition, it caused slow motility. So everything slowed down in my gastrointestinal tract, which created an environment where bacteria could overgrow, combined with my diet that had a lot of foods in it, artificial sweeteners,
Processed.
some more processed foods that could feed a lot of the bacteria in the gut, which led to bacteria overgrowth, hence all of my gut issues, halted motility, and led to a lot of depression, anxiety. I think a byproduct of just where my health was and how I felt, but also too, the gut-brain connection is a real thing. So looking at it from this lens now, it's like, okay, wow, this makes a lot of sense, but that wasn't the approach that Western medicine offered. And it took a lot of time. Like, this was not like, okay, I figured it all out and I was healed. This was a process of an entire year, making the necessary dietary changes, working on my stress, working on addressing some of my unaddressed trauma that I had and how that was really manifesting in my sense of worth coming from my physical body and performance, which ultimately led me to push my body to an extreme place.
Yeah.
It was doing key targeted protocols with supplements to heal my gut. I had to do a very, very strict diet because gut healing is very different than gut health. So you have to eliminate a lot of things that can be irritating to the gut. And it was the course over a year where it would be like, I can go for, a few days, a few weeks. And then there was just this one day I was like, wait, remember the last time like I felt bad or I had gut issues. And it's so interesting because you notice it so much when you feel like shit because that's all you can focus on, right? Like imagine a time where like you slept really bad or maybe like you were struggling with gut issues. Like we become very selfish because all you can focus on is the pain.
Yeah.
That's all you can focus on.
Your
You're
mind's
focused
just,
on self.
yeah.
You're just trying to get through the day. You're in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so there you can't focus on your family. You can't focus on growing a business, a mission. You can't focus on any of those things
True.
when your health is at this place. You become very selfish. And that's where I was for a lot of my years, not to mention focus on like my physical body shifting into then healing. And again, you need to be focused on yourself when it comes to healing, but ultimately we want to get to the point where we can shift our focus outward. And for me, it was getting to that point where I was like, all right, I'm going out with friends, I can
Yeah.
start dating.
Life is
And
back.
I didn't even realize it that I didn't have the symptoms because I wasn't focused on it anymore. And that was when it was like that aha moment that I was like, I think like I've healed my body, which was like really powerful.
Yeah.
It's a great story. Like
Wow.
this is like right at this story could help so many people just by being aware.
It has
And-
already.
And,
yeah.
and she
yeah.
said so many gold. Like it's hard because I want to stop her every time she says like
I
some
know.
golden nugget
I
that
know.
is so much more than just about health. Like you could take a lot of these things she's saying and apply them to all kinds of areas in life. I preach this to myself, Rachel. This idea of being obsessed, and a lot of people don't like to hear that. So many people will look at that somehow as like that's a toxic thought, but the truth is like we're always focusing, at least around us, best in class, how to be the best in life that you can be yourself. Like, what does that look like for each individual out there? And I'm just convinced if you're not obsessed, if you're not fully in love with your craft or the thing you're trying to pursue, then there's a million people that are, and they're going to blow right past you. And I think about that with everything, even in my own life. Like, I won't do anything unless I'm going to commit my whole heart and my whole soul to it. You're using that same language with your own health, being obsessed with your own health. And I think it's a really important distinction of sort of maybe a connection that someone should probably be making in their mind if they're not, to really anything that's important in life that you prioritize for your children, your family, whatever the why behind it is, that you need to go all in and be really obsessed. It is so easy to, I feel like, have the lazy genes slip back in, or like the excuses, or sort of whatever the imposter might try to do to you if you're not obsessed. It creeps back in and it tells you, oh, today's okay, you can skip this day, or let's procrastinate on that. But obsessed people that are really all in and focused, I just feel like these are the ones that really move mountains. They're the ones that achieve everything, you know what I mean, worthwhile in life. But I just love that you point that out, because I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, almost like there's something wrong with being obsessed.
It's what
And you used a word there. You said focused. What is obsession? It is utter focus and then massive action combined with it.
100%.
So we put a negative lens on obsession, which
Sure.
there can be
Sure.
unhealthy obsessions, no
There
doubt.
actually is a
right?
lot of unhealthy obsessions. It's a problem.
But it's based off of what it's in, not the obsession
Right.
itself.
Sure.
I also think it's a deep lesson in being non-attached, because when there's this great quote, I won't dig it up, but it's by Vivekananda, like, here's the secret to success. This is paraphrased, like, take up one idea and to the exclusion of all others, focus all your energy, your grit, everything to this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the exclusion piece is because if people don't have a very clear aim to pour their heart into, or maybe a few, we're multidimensional people, human beings, we have families, different endeavors, but it helps you turn away from all the frittering temptations. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
The invitations, what you could do with your time, it's just like an infinite sea of possibilities. And unless you have a bright star, they're going to attract you, or you're going to.
Yeah.
It's like you have to it's really, obsession to me is almost like a continual renunciation. Like, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank
Yeah.
you. It's like a continual letting go in a way.
Yeah. And I like where this conversation, I think, is headed, but we're all trying to get rich. Let's be honest. Like, it doesn't matter where you come from. Everyone's looking for what they deem in their mind as being rich, and being wealthy and successful.
As in true wealth.
Yeah,
not
just
just
money,
pure monetary,
baby.
yeah.
This is America, like, American dream. And I feel like getting truly rich and wealthy, it literally starts with feeling like $1 million. Like, it starts with $1 million mindset, $1 million body. Like, even if you have we've talked about this, but if you have a six-pack, if you have literally a visible set of abs on your stomach, you are one of the rarest humans in America. Did you know that? Isn't that
And
crazy?
if you have rare still
look
if your
at it
biome
differently,
is
too.
beautiful under that stomach.
That too. That's the next level.
You
I
have to
cannot
have
wait
that.
to get
We're
into
getting
that.
there.
We're
Don't look
going
like
to
a
swing to
Ninja
the
Turtle.
biomes.
And you know what's even rarer than that is being able to have the body, the mindset, the visceral fat, the gut biome that we all dream of, and $1 million bank account.
You've
You know what I
always
mean? So why can't you have it all? I think Rachel's one of these people that we bring in and we can spotlight and say, oh, you can't have it all, but you've got to become
can.
obsessed.
That's actually been my motto of like, I can have it all and I'm going to get it all. And
Write
I
that
have
down,
zero
Colton.
doubt in it. And even talking about, obsession and creating an extraordinary life, right? Because that's what you're really talking about. Whatever your version of an extraordinary life may look
Yes.
like is you have to have one massive clarity on what that is.
Clarity.
You have to be willing to take massive action on it. And I would just, say for a lot of people who aren't willing to do that, I don't think you want it bad enough.
Yeah, it's so true.
Truth is, I don't think you want it bad
That's
enough
true.
because
That's so true.
like I've even had the conversation with people like for me and people may think this is a little conceited, so I hope people hear my heart in this, but success has never been difficult for me. It has never been difficult for me because I saw what I wanted, I had massive clarity, and then I found somebody who had done it before. I got the roadmap on how to do it, and then I took massive action and I didn't stop. And if you were to look at somebody who is struggling, not reaching it, they probably haven't done one of those things. They don't have clarity on what it is that they want. They're not taking action, so inaction, right? And on top of that, they probably haven't found somebody else who has done it before. Pay them to
they're
coach
not
you.
humble enough to
Get a
just
roadmap.
mirror
Yeah.
somebody else.
Can you write all that down, Cole? We got this producer. Like, these are all bombs that are being dropped,
I
as
know, I'm
Bradley would
tempted to
say.
grab
Yeah.
each bomb
And this
I'm
is for
writing it
anything, your
down.
health, your body. That person has the body like you want, the
Yeah.
health you want.
It's
Cool.
like how do you
Work
know what
with
you
them.
really want and desire? Just watch your actions. Like what do you deeply care about?
What
Yeah.
you value,
It's
too,
not what
right?
you say,
want to know what
it's
you
how you
value. Where
are.
do you spend most of your
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, where does
The
your
framework she just laid out so simply and eloquently, that is exactly the
that
way it
simple.
actually works. Like there's a touch of obsession, there's an extreme focus, it's clarity, which most people I find do not have. They can't see it, and they definitely can't build a blueprint for it because they can't even fully see what they want. And it's funny when you challenge someone with it. I do it all the time, and it's so easy to see how you get stumbled up when you force them to get clear. And you put that with massive action, and then that last piece, bringing someone in your life that's done it. It's powerful. Like, you can't have a more perfect, I think, alignment of the way it
fail-proof.
really works. Yeah,
And be
fail-proof.
willing to invest too, because like I know Eric,
Sure.
you invested.
Write the
I don't even
checks.
know how much to work with Edmelad. I invested. For me, it was $50,000 to work with Bideros when I had
Yeah, he's a
$25
stud.
in my bank account, and I was making $6,000 a month. But most people aren't willing to do what it takes.
Yeah.
In all of these things, like
Sure.
you have to be willing to pay the price. What are you going to sacrifice
What do I
when
always
it comes
say?
to your health?
Yeah.
When
write
it
the
comes
checks.
to your business, when it comes to having a great marriage, whatever it is that you want, there's always going to be sacrifices. And, I posted the other day of like, choose your heart, right? Like it's going to be hard either way. It's hard to, feel like shit every single day, to be overweight, like to feel unconfident in yourself. It's also hard to change your lifestyle
Sure.
and to work out every single day and be fit. It's hard to be broke, and it's hard to build a business. Choose your heart.
Choose your heart. We hear that, I say this all the time, write the check. So many people are afraid to make investments. They try to play in the free. They stay trapped in that safety bubble, and it is literally like torture for any kind of progress or forward momentum. When you really look beneath the hood, this is the truest thing that y'all ever say. When you really look beneath the hood, there's nobody that really moved forward in a significant way that didn't make some kind of investment, because there's no such thing as ROI without an
Risk,
investment.
yeah.
You've got to commit, and you have to, unfortunately, the way it actually works is you're going to have to get out of the free zone, and you're going to have to write some checks, because trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of Eric Rocks and Racheer Scheers out there and Matt Laughlin's and Ed Milet's, and these people are writing checks constantly, and it's amazing how you show up differently when you put your own blood in. Skin in the game, money in, it changes how you show up. You turn into an animal, even if you're not an animal. Like, I could be a soft little kitten. The second I put my hard-earned last dollar into something that I care about, like, I'll show up a fucking tiger and I'll rip your fucking head off. Like, and I say that with all due respect. But you get my point. Like, that's that ferocious, like, I'm aggressive. I'm going to go hunt this down and kill it. That's the thing that really happens when you put your last penny in. And so many people are willing to not make investments in themselves. And guess what? No real momentum ever happens. They stay trapped in the rat race, stuck on the hamster wheel, and hoping that life happens for them. I'm pumped, Rachel.
You brought to mind an image. I haven't had this. I've heard Eric mention that, just like you were saying, Rachel, the write the check distinction. I love that. It's almost as though, like, what is it about? I was thinking, just as a listener to both of you, what is it about writing a check? Why is it so inspiring or motivating? Well, you're giving your life energy. You're giving a part of yourself. It's almost like, if I have children, so it's almost like if you can imagine throwing something incredibly dear to you over this huge wall. That's like writing the check. It's like something precious to you that you care about.
Your baby.
Yeah.
You got to go get it.
You got to go. Now you got to go get it. It's like you're going to.
That's a good way to describe
It's like
it.
taking something that's really dear to you, putting it over this huge castle wall, and placing it there. And then, well,
find a way.
Like, yeah, love's tireless. It'll carve through whatever it takes.
It's indefatigable.
Yeah, tireless, undaunted. I love it. So I want to go
I
back.
think also too, it shows you how much you have. Like, and this could be investing in yourself for something in return, or just literally, like, serving other people and giving your money away. It also shows you how much you truly have when you're able to do that. Because when you're holding on to it, you're holding on to it because out of fear. If you give it away,
totally.
you know you have
Scarcity.
plenty, so you're able to give it freely, and it shows you what you
Yeah.
truly have.
And you're trusting.
And often else it's a commitment to bet on yourself, and that's what
That's
it
it.
was for me. I was willing to bet on myself, so I was willing to take the risk.
Well said.
And I didn't have to trust anything else, but I was willing to do the work. And I think also people don't trust themselves.
I'm
And
writing that
like,
down.
I've also had people who have invested and then they don't do it, and that just blows my mind. And I'm like, you put your money in here. And I'm like, what do you mean? And it's like, what can really come up for people?
Yeah.
Then they didn't invest enough.
They need to throw their kitty cat in the
Your
castle
price
or
tag
something.
needs to be higher.
Yeah, they need to. You need to get something of their soul. And
it didn't
throw
hurt
over the
enough,
wall.
yeah.
It needs to be like.
It's got to hurt
Yeah,
for some people. Yeah.
I think that's why I was successful. I invested $50,000 when I had 25 in my bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
yeah. You were.
So
I was
I
also.
had zero
that-
safety net.
That is a commitment to bet on yourself, as I use Rachel's own quote back on her. That is definitely what it actually looks like to create a commitment to bet on yourself.
And it's you. This is just being like, I'm gonna go back to the father thing. Like, it's cool to meet. Here you are, a young woman who's, you know what it is to be disciplined and exceed in other domains, and your faith and confidence in betting on yourself in an entirely new endeavor. It's obviously stacked in part not only by what you see as possible, but your own sense of self. You know what it is to grind. I mean, you know, even though it has nothing to do with the gut biome, which you're now an expert at. I think that can't be lost in this conversation.
No.
Like, it just translates. Like,
Yeah.
you'll keep betting on yourself because you have a track record of fruit, so to speak.
This is what a well-rounded package
And
looks like.
for everybody who's listening, I would ask yourself the question of what is it that you need to go all in on, right? Because if your health's not where it needs to be, honestly, that needs to be number one before anything else, because you may be thinking right now, okay, I want to go all in on my business. Well, I'm sorry, but if your health is suffering, good luck.
What's the point?
Like,
So
like
good.
go
I
all in on
I
your
agree.
health.
So I'm with you.
And then from there, take what you developed in that area and use it in these other areas. And I think that's why fitness is the gateway drug to personal development, right? Because it's not just about you have a physically fit body. It's what that is telling me about the kind of person that you are,
Yeah.
right? The kind of work ethic that you have, that you're willing to get up every single day, early in the morning, get your ass to the gym. You have a level of discipline and self-control with the foods that you eat. And if you can apply it in that area, can you take that
What
same
else?
concept and apply it into other areas? And you said earlier, Eric, that, you know, a six-pack is the ultimate status symbol, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
that's because, you know, it's not something you can maintain without continuous effort every single
Sure.
day.
Yeah. That's true. Beneath the surface, there's a
Yeah, you're saying so many things. It's just like great music to my ears that I'm resisting all temptations.
If you
to
don't keep
interrupt
sharpening the blade, it's going to get duller and duller and duller, and pretty soon it won't cut anything.
And like you said, so I'm 49. So it wasn't to get 6-packs abs, but this year this interview's timed where since about February, I'm like been all in, like 100% all in on optimizing my health.
You have a 6-pack?
I think so.
No, I've seen it.
Yeah, but it's
You're-
not.
you're in
but
the rare class, brother.
It's there, but it's not like that. Isn't the aim at 49? It's more like I'm geeking out on. I'm making my own kefir, like for my gut biome, things that Rachel knows all about, right? But you're right, Rachel. Like, and I want to ask you a question around that, maybe. And I don't want to jump too far ahead in your story with regard to your patients, or your clients rather.
Well, I
when
know
you're
the
coaching
audience
them.
wants to hear, like, what food? Tell me more.
Yeah, all the things. Like I want to.
All the
but
things.
but
We got
but the
more to
deeper
go.
question is like, how do you coach? Give us a taste of how you coach people. Like I've just made a decision to go all in on my health. I hired a physician. I've like you of studying biome stuff, and I've consumed a bit of your content, and I'm like, oh, I love that, the sunlight, various things that you've talked about. What is your philosophical view on when you're working with a client? Do they have to necessarily go all in tomorrow? Like, how do you inspire your clientele to enter into their health journey, or spark that willingness to go all in? Like, how do you think about that topic?
Yeah. So early on, when I was a coach, I used to just tell everybody to do what I did. And that'll work for people who have a similar personality as you, but then it won't work for many other people. So I think great coaches not only are able to create change in people who are like them, but they're able to create change in people who are not like them.
Yes.
Different needs, different values, different drivers ultimately. So I don't really do the same thing for everybody. There's some people who are like, hey, let me go all in. And I love working with those people because they're just like me.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
And then there's other people where based off of, their needs, and I'm a big TR fan, Tony Robbins fan, but he talks about the 6 human needs. So certainty, uncertainty, love and belonging, and significance. So we have these different needs that drive us. For somebody who has, let's just say, a high need for certainty, they may want to make small little baby steps, and I would rather for that person to make small changes and get some wins,
Yeah.
and stick with it than try to do everything all at once and get really overwhelmed. But it's different. So this is why it's not one size fits all on what approach is necessarily going to work for every single person, right? And I also think too, for someone who really values, love and relationships, right? If I'm coaching this person and food for them, right? It's social, like going out and eat. And I tell them all of a sudden, none of that anymore. You can't go out to eat with your friends.
Yeah.
You have to cook everything at home. You think they're going to follow it? No.
Yeah.
So I need to coach them on how they can still go out, enjoy, have the connection that they want to have, and not miss out on that. And that's why it's like understanding what drives people is so important. Someone who has significance, right, as one of their needs, they're going to be driven a bit differently. Some people may get significance just out of like going all in the process and like posting it online and social media. So it's very different for each person on what approach may work, whether it's going all in, small baby steps on what you need to start with, helping people create plans around eating out. Some people are very black and white. Some people you need more gray area. Some people, they want the exact template of what to do and I don't want to deviate from it.
Yeah.
And then other people, they need a bit more intuition,
Yeah.
based off their life. So I think that's a great coach. You can really individualize it based off of that person.
So well said.
That's a good distinction. I talk a lot about like the needs of people. People have different needs for sure, like things they're drawn to, different love languages. It's cool you tapped into that because I think that no matter who's listening, some version of them that they could become is impacting a lot of people. I always challenge people with that thought, even people that don't see themselves as having big lives where they're doing, crazy things. At some point when you challenge them really to think about what they could become, they likely are having a good impact on this world when you really challenge what they could be, what their potential really lies. And so all this is important to be not only just good at impacting, but if you want to be good at sales, good at anything, you got to understand people. So somehow in this conversation, there's a lot of gold you can always extract and try to apply it to your life and say, hey, how can understanding other people and really listening to what their needs are, those basic needs, and being able to hone in on that to get them to move forward, how is that a valuable asset that I can have in my little toolkit? You know what I mean? This
I'd
idea
even
of
say too, like, what does all in look like to you? Because my all in may look very different than your all
Sure.
in. which may look different than somebody else's all in. So like what I would also want to do with that person is to understand like what they can truly commit to and then just commit to it. So like
Yeah.
for some people, if that is like, I'm going to go work out 2 days a week and that's it right now. And then I'm going to meal prep once a week and I'm going to eat out only twice a week. Go all in on that, because what you're really doing right is building that sense of confidence and trust with yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be my all in, but what is your all in? And
Yeah.
commit to that and do that and then make adjustments as you go.
Yeah.
But just stick to it. I think that's the problem is people will like say like I'm going to go all in, and sometimes they'll set the bar like way up here and then they can't stick with it, and then they're like, oh shoot, why did I do this? And then
Yeah.
they quit right away. I'd rather you make some small commitments, stick to it, than make like a huge goal and then not stick to that and then feel that sense of self-defeat, because that's really truly how you erode your confidence. So
Sure.
just knowing what all in is to you is a powerful place to start, whether that's your health, a business, whatever it is that you want to see results in.
Yeah, in this process, how important is maybe early or maybe you wait, getting sort of the identity part to check? I think the real transformation happens when someone's
Right.
identity, they believe in a new identity. That means till I'm going to die. Like there's not, diets, I feel like the reason I don't like the word is because it feels like it has an end date. 75 hard, as good as that is, like it has an end date. Like how do you create an identity in a person where they transform for life? And is that an important piece of this puzzle?
Yeah, that's incredibly important because the true transformation comes from that shift in identity, which is hard to do. And that's why you hear people talk about all the time imposter syndrome, right? When they're
Yeah.
creating these changes, they're going after their goals. They're like, I feel like an imposter. I don't know if you've ever said that before, Eric, when you're
Sure.
speaking or whatever it may be.
All the
But
time.
also, it's kind of like, well, yeah, you've never done it before. So you probably do feel like a little bit of an imposter a bit, right?
Yeah.
If you're actually growing and getting uncomfortable, you're going to feel like a little bit of an imposter.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Totally.
Yep.
So the identity, of course, I think too, you want to have some clarity on that, because I'm a big believer in meditation and visualization. It's been a big part of my morning routine. I do it every single day. I go straight to my ice bath when I wake up. First thing I do,
see
no
that, yeah.
hesitation, no like allowing thoughts to come in right in there. I get out and then I sit in front of my red light and then I do a meditation. First, I focus on everything that I'm grateful for, but like actually memories of things I'm grateful for. And then I shift and I focus on the things that I want to create in my life. And a big part of that is how I'm showing up in those things, right? So I have to be able to see it. I have to be able to see myself. You know, like if I want to sell my business here in 5 years, I got to be able to visualize that. What is happening? How am I showing up? What does my team look like? How am I walking? How am I talking? The same thing comes to your health and fitness. When you are envisioning somebody who's shredded, six-pack abs, they're going to probably show up a whole lot different than that person who's overweight, who's got a gut. What is that person doing in their life? How are they walking? How are they talking? How are they approaching other people? How are they showing up in their work? And you need to see that every single day, because if you do that, you can't help but not create that in your life. If you look at it every single day, you have clarity, you live in it, you will step into it eventually. And that's actually a bit of a syncing with your future self.
Yeah.
You will
It's
start
so-
to show up that way.
It's such a not to minimize what you said, like you said earlier, it's so simple and straightforward. But I think like you're doing it, like you said, every day. I get in the cold water, then I meditate. You're doing what you're espousing right now. Like you can't lose
Yeah.
doing what you're saying.
No.
I don't care who you are. It's like you could be a 17-year-old and from whatever part of the world, but if you pulled off just like some sort of morning like Rachel's describing, doesn't need to be this and that, but like where every morning you're actually,
Yeah.
but you do this, don't you, Rachel? You
System
strike,
and a
Every single
process.
morning.
I'd love to
Everything
run
that
you-
I have in my life,
Yeah.
I have seen it before it happened. And now, of course, there's things that you can't think about that God brings into your life.
yeah,
and
the
all that. But not
adventure
like
of
every
life.
last
Life's a
detail.
discovery, but
the big things that I wanted to really create, like I've seen it before.
Yeah.
And you said every single day you see it or you do your exercise, correct?
Yeah, it's a
Like right
system and
now,
process.
I'm
You just
very
do it.
very vulnerable. Right now, I am visualizing my future husband. Like that's part of my
That's
morning
beautiful.
routine every
See it,
single
yeah. It's
morning.
amazing.
And the kind of man that he is, I'm
qualities.
visualizing like what we do together, how I show up, and because I'm looking for like the 0.001%
Yeah.
ultimately. And I'm seeing that every single day, but that's an area that I'm focusing on right now is, relationships. And then I have a vision for my business. And then for me right now, health isn't necessarily a thing that I have to focus on, but I
Right.
think that's what's so cool is once you get your health right, it allows you to shift away and focus on other things that
The
you
other
want to
domains.
create.
Well, even to go back to the earlier conversation, because I'll work with one-on-one with my coaching clients, and it's quite beautiful and natural, those that are single, to yearn for a partner, right? Or a spouse, a husband or wife. And there's a renunciation in that. Like when you have the ideal out there, you have to have the courage to not fritter your time with something that's not aligned with that ideal.
Right.
Like, and you can't, just like in relationships or business or whatever domain, I have so many clients, like they go through this period where it's natural to want to long for company or intimacy or friendship, but they have to have the courage to say no to all the options and just patiently keep pursuing or waiting for their in the domain of relationships. That takes something. I don't know what your experience is in that, Rachel, where obviously you have a big business, you're very well networked, you're a beautiful woman, you seem to have an amazing heart. You could date a lot of people. I'm sure the listeners are curious, like how do you navigate that, like patiently stay the course, so to speak? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting is I have zero doubt. And I've never had any doubt of any of the things, like not saying I have like moments, we all do, that we're all human, but ultimately, like when I'm really operating in like my highest self, like there is no doubt there. Like when I'm sitting there in the morning time and I'm under my red light and I'm like thawing out from my ice bath and I'm doing my visualization, like I'm in this utter place of excitement and like bliss. Like I have serotonin just like throughout my entire body. And I'm doing that purposely every single morning because one, I am creating different neural pathways in my brain. So I focus more on those things in my life, what I'm grateful for and where I'm wanting to go versus everything that I don't have, doing that repeatedly every single day. And then too, when you focus on it, you can't help but become it. You can't help but create that in your life. But when I'm thinking about it, I'm not doing it from a place of like need or lack. I'm doing it from a place of like, I'm excited. I'm sitting there. I'm like a giddy girl when it comes to like my business things that I'm creating and everything that I'm doing. I'm like, I'm excited and operating from that place. I'm like, all right, like just
Grateful.
anytime. I know it's
Yeah.
going to just happen. And that's a powerful place to be.
Very.
Yeah, some of the most contagious people I've ever met are just geniuses at manifestation. They see it and they're here long before it manifests here. And it's really cool to be around people that are like that. And they've somehow systematized the art of being grateful through this type of work that you're doing, not only physically, but mentally, and somehow it connects to your spirit and your soul. It does. I mean, we always talk about get your house in order. Like this is actually, in my mind, what it looks like to be in front of someone that has their house in order. It's really cool because then from there she can go out in the world and just dominate and slay. And she's always in control. She always has power. And one thing I notice about Rachel that I think is really contagious is I can feel that she has a beautiful grip on her emotional state. And one of the most precious things we own as humans is the ability to really control our emotions. And a lot of people's emotions will guide them to terrible decisions. Like I can tell Rachel's the type of person that like red flags will go right past her. A lot of people, red flags show up and they move forward towards them anyway, even though their gut, no pun intended, already is telling them all the warning signs. Like she's gonna find exactly what she wants out of life because her setup is really perfect. It's good. It's a solid setup to go out and achieve whatever you want in this life. And like if you have this type of abundant mindset, opportunity is everywhere. Money is everywhere. Like Rachel's after these rare things in life, though, that far exceed the things that most people want. It's cool to be around a person like you, Rachel. I love this. I love doing the show. It's really cool. I still, though, I feel like, okay, so I'm always trying to think, okay, what does the audience want? How do we serve? How do we give? Yeah. Deep down.
I can go so many different directions.
I know. You're so dynamic. It's cool. It's like so much of what I want to talk about where my instincts are going.
It's all personal development, though, at the core. It's all just being your best self, right? Whether it's the health side, creating what you want. And that's why I do focus so much on personal development. You know, healing at the core is also personal development. It's just at a certain level of it. Yeah. And we're always doing personal development. We're always healing. You know, Ed Milet talks about if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yes, exactly.
ultimately. So we have to. And sometimes there's symptoms there, physical health.
Yeah.
Sometimes our emotional state isn't where we need to be. So we call it quote unquote healing. And then you could look at personal development or optimization with your body, whatever it may be,
Yep.
when there's not necessarily symptoms, but now you're just trying to get to that next level. So
Next
there's
level.
just different levels to this game, seeing where you need to start at.
How do you, I have to ask this, I'm on the personal development wave, like how do you, for me, I like to frame it in the context of being an instrument, like at a spiritual or faith-based level, like, all right, like I love that prayer of St. Francis, Lord, make me an instrument of your love or your peace. And so like a morning routine for me, at least how I conceptualize it and open myself to it, is to pray to be the most optimal instrument I can with whatever gifts or inclinations I can.
Yeah.
And to trust those inclinations, like that I'm being guided, perhaps, provided they pass the muster of integrity and all that. How do you relate to that? Because you evoked God earlier, like God was central to your bottom, where you were like, well, I'm not going to cut out my colon. I think I can be guided elsewhere. Like, I'm just curious how you personally like relate to that spiritual component and serving others. It's clear you also, in a related question to that is, you genuinely enjoy serving others, and I think part of your success is because it's based on truth and reality. Like this woman, like it's really admirable what you've already accomplished in your business. So how do you relate to the faith or spiritual component of this?
Well, Jesus was the ultimate servant leader, right? The ultimate servant leader. He was willing to help out anybody who needed help. He was willing to get on other people's levels, right? So the tax people, the prostitutes, whatever it may be. He saw a need and he took massive action. And he was a leader. He demonstrated the ultimate way to live, the ultimate love. So, that is really like my guiding post ultimately, is like, how can I be more like God? How can I be more like Jesus?
Christ-like,
Like it's a continuous striving to be more like him. And for me, it's been integral part of my mental health, part of that sense of trust, right? And looking for certainty. We look for certainty in so many other things, but when you have certainty in yourself and you have certainty in God, like that is the ultimate sense of trust and certainty that you need. And that's why I can operate the way that I operate.
Yeah.
And for me, like when I have been the worst in my life, it's because I've been the furthest from God.
Yeah.
And I've been on the other side too there. I know what that's like. Actually a few years back, early on in my business, I had my first panic attack. With anxiety and things that were really showing up. I was also trying to wean off of, the antidepressant that I was put on, not to mention, turned spiritual, quote unquote. And again, not against what anybody else does, but I was guided more down a spiritual realm, the use of other things that give us spiritual experiences to feel like we're connected with God. But I don't need those things to connect with my God. I don't need those things. I can connect with God any moment that I want to, and developing that relationship with him has literally been the best thing that I could ever do. And it's a relationship that I have every single day. So I didn't mention this in my morning routine, but after I do my visualization, I go into reading the Bible. And I read it every single morning, and that's a big part of my routine. And then it's praying relentlessly in everything that I do. When it comes to speaking, when it comes to whatever may be happening, asking for the things that I want. It's you pray ceaselessly.
That's make your day like a living prayer. I'm not surprised to discover this about you. Like I work with people of all different faith orientations, but if you scratch under the surface of even Eric, he's not particularly religious, but his love of innocence and faith, like he's deeply, I discover this in so many people. You scratch under the surface, there's a deep faith life. We tend to be quiet about it in the public sphere or discreet, like it's a compartmentalized thing. It's like politics or religion. You don't talk about it, but I'm not surprised that that's a central part of your life, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, and somehow I feel like the best people that I sort of magnet to me personally, when you do scratch beneath the surface, this is what you uncover, and this is one of these beautiful floors. And these really strengthen your message and really make you that much more powerful. And you're right, Jesus was the ultimate leader. I love how you phrase that. And I think, not trying to push this conversation into politics, But the truth, from my perspective, is that this is actually what is being stripped out of America, out of this American dream. More and more, they're pulling really God out of the equation in schools. And it's one of the reasons beneath the surface that I've stepped up. There's a bigger why to me personally for the reason of the show. We just choose the lens of personal development to try to inspire, impact, uplift, help pull the right direction. But yeah, God out of the equation is bad for it's bad for humanity. I promise you, this doesn't end well. So it's amazing to have people like you, Rachel, step up, say their truth, not be afraid of it, own it. I just think the next generation really needs this. So big shout out for that, and thank you for that for sure. I won't go into what's wrong with America, Matt.
I know. I was watching.
can.
I was like, I want to talk about gut bacteria.
Well, Western medicine. We can come back to Western medicine. That's great. That's
in my mind, I'm at a
food
cross.
system.
Yeah, I've been at a crossroads for a while with Rachel because she's so dynamic. It's like you could go this route, this deeper route of like really what's wrong with this country.
Yeah.
I could go back to functional medicine. I could take it to our original conversation the audience hasn't heard about slaying dragons, stepping in the stage, building a brand. There's so many places. Just so you audience people know, this is probably like a real 4 or 5 hour conversation to go down all these lanes, let Rachel exhaust them all because she's such a dynamic human. Sometimes people, they really stay in one lane. And at first you may, with functional medicine, you may think that like Rachel's super dynamic, and that's what I like about people like her is that there's no conversation we can't go near, and I would love to hear her thoughts on so many topics. So let me just pose the question. I wish I could poll the audience. Should we talk about, because we're still at this pivotal moment where she really hasn't gone deep into functional medicine. What's causing the pain in people? I'm curious to hear her answers to those questions. I also know the audience will be served to figure out how she built her brand.
Yeah, those are two questions.
It's a big question that's coming,
Yeah.
and I still want to know what's wrong with America, Rachel.
So there you go. 3. You just guide us
You
through.
go.
Yeah.
You pick. How about that?
You're polling me?
No,
I thought you
we're
were
gonna
polling the audience.
our hypothetical idea. What's wrong with America?
Who are we polling?
How in the world did
I
you
know.
build this incredible business? Like to be savvy at
The
medicine and
brand,
business, and
but
and
then also functional medicine.
and then gut bacteria. I mean,
Why don't we start with functional
That's
medicine?
the thing.
Functional
I can go on the
medicine.
micro level,
What is
like
functional
literally
medicine?
bacteria, and I can talk about that if you want, like
Tell
what
us,
the
how
bacteria
about this?
do in your gut and all that.
Let's-
But I
let's-
can go on the macro too.
Yeah.
So we can
now
go anywhere.
let's go micro a bit
But
in
they
the back.
connect.
Yes,
Functional medicine.
Start with this. So the audience
What's
may
a
be asking,
shocking thing about gut bacteria that most people
also,
don't know?
Maybe people don't realize what is functional medicine. Maybe you can start
Yeah,
with
that-
this simple question.
The pivotal distinctions of that. You could do it for hours, I know, but
Yeah, functional medicine basically means root cause. It's taking a root cause approach. So I call Western medicine the medicine of what, and then functional medicine is the medicine of why. And we're only really taught about Western medicine. We're not taught about functional medicine, and I believe that's really the healthcare of the future, right?
Agree.
It's getting to what is actually going on, not only in the body, but asking the questions why. And we find that most of it is rooted in lifestyle,
yeah, well
diet,
said.
Yeah.
relationships, these things. And that's why we need to address those things. We need to know what is off in the body. So that's like why with my practice, we do all the testing. We do gut microbiome, hormones, thyroid, adrenals, toxin, micronutrients, inflammation panels. It's 40 pages worth of labs, which insurance would never cover because they consider that to be experimental testing. They'll give you the basic type tests. They'll also look at your levels based off of what is normal, which if you think about the people who are going to the doctor, most of them are sick. So what those reference ranges are, functional medicine looks at optimal reference ranges. And then we treat with food as medicine and lifestyle changes, which is why coaching is such a paramount part of what we do, because you're guiding people to actually create true and lasting change, which is not easy. And also why that requires ownership from the person on the other side, because we're not playing God here. We're giving you the roadmap. We're telling you what's off. We're giving you all the things, but the person has to be willing to do the work. With Western medicines, here, give me my pill, give me my Band-Aid, so I can manage these symptoms. But we're also missing what is really happening in the body, and that's why people get on multiple medications, right? To just manage all of these different things that are off. And when one thing is off, other things are off. So we are an interconnected system, not a random collection of independent organs. So we go to a gastroenterologist, we go to, a neurologist, we go to a psychologist, we go to a gastroenterologist for all these different things. But let's just look at human, and look at how it's all interconnected, which is why, like with the gut, when your gut microbiome is off, when you have bacterial overgrowth, dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in the good and the bad bacteria, it affects every system. So the gut and the brain are connected. 90% of serotonin is produced from the bacteria in your gut.
Can I ask you about a study on that, the
Yeah.
serotonin thing? This just for the listener, if you're not familiar with the biome, the research coming out lately, I'm sure you're on the spearhead of all that, Rachel, but it's staggering. Like there's even, I'm not advocating this, but even like a fecal transplant
Yeah.
is shown to cure like schizophrenia. Like
Yep.
when you said the
It's
gut gave
insane.
like literally the fecal matter of a very healthy human, transplant it into somebody else.
To like an athlete, I've seen that done.
Yeah, like
Athletes.
With weight loss.
it's staggering. So it can't. I mean, there's something like 3 trillion bacteria on or within you,
Yeah.
and it's exciting to see your business blossom in this because it's addressing like reality. Like we went back to like what's true. Like you're
Yeah.
actually the root.
Yeah.
This is central.
And we were on the front end of gut microbiome before it was like a sexy topic.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
you're on
Now
this.
it's hot.
You're the tip of the
I make
spear.
gut health sexy.
Still,
Yeah.
I guarantee people right now are saying, okay, so I don't feel that great. I'm really sluggish and tired.
Like-
what is something I can start doing right
Some
today,
nuggets.
Rachel? Like right away, what can I take from this podcast and just have in my brain and run with today?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys something really, really simple. But simple doesn't always mean easy. Real whole food. Mind blowing, right? Real whole food. I mean, if most people would just do that one
That's
thing,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they would eat real whole food.
No
Yeah.
process.
Not a bag or a box,
Sure.
processed ingredients full of sugar, industrial seed oils, which most of
Yeah.
the food that we have in America, over 36% comes from empty calories. So
Yeah.
seed oils and sugar, which are nutrient devoid and calorie dense, that wreak havoc on our gut microbiome, our brain health, and all these other systems in the body. If most people would just actually start to eat high quality animal protein, ideally, if they can get it local or inorganic,
Yep.
if they were to eat fruits and vegetables, you can cook them. They don't have to be raw. Well, at least the vegetables, however you want to prepare them. Healthy fats, like more paleo type diet. Like I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, me
Not
too.
saying I'm perfect in that because, I like to experience life, but I'm also in a place where I can versus when I was struggling with my health, I was very regimented
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the food that I was putting in my body. But if most people would just do that one simple thing,
Yeah.
eat real whole food, get rid of everything else, watch your physical health transform.
100%. Someone
Oh,
just sent me,
yeah.
well, this has happened a few times now. People will send me things, but I've had a couple of different places send me these protein kits, and a buddy of mine just recently sent me one, but it's just happened probably 4 or 5 times now where I get some ship stuff. And I think companies will kind of hedge the bet that I'll, give shout outs or whatever, but I've only ever done it with one person because he's a dear friend of mine, but I'll just be honest, full transparency. You look at the back of these healthy protein bars or these protein snacks from these big companies, and it's literally 1,000 ingredients. It's just disgusting. Like people eat this shit thinking that it's healthy, and I'm like going through the list of chemicals that I can't pronounce, all sorts of oils in there. You're just seeing just garbage, and people will buy
Food-like
this
product.
in a nutrition store thinking, oh, it's healthy.
And you could
It's a protein bar.
You could take those
Yeah.
ingredients and Google that ingredient and then gut biome. There's probably a research study
Killer.
that will tell you like
Yeah.
this obliterates
Yeah,
your
it's a
biome.
killer.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's like fake meat too, Frankenfood is what I call them, because it's like you would be way better off just eating like
Sure.
animal protein, one ingredient, beef,
Right.
versus like 30 ingredients
You're
that
right.
are in there, like trying to mimic meat.
Yeah,
It's like just eat the meat. You're trying to
Sure.
mimic it anyway.
Yeah.
right. This bigger question with functional medicine of like what you're up against when you're in this type of industry. Not only is it the food industry, which is a powerful, when you start going up the chain, this illusion of choice is fake as fuck.
Yeah.
Because when you get up the food chain to the parent company of the parent company of the parent company, it really kind of funnels up in every industry to maybe 1 or 2 big fish. Even Tyson Foods, which you think is a juggernaut, no, there's a level above that, baby. And all Tyson's competitors are owned by the parent company. Like, it's this illusion of choice that's sickening to me. And you realize everything is an illusion. This is a massive monopoly. But people like Rachel, my respect and admiration for her, is because she's up in a fight against a very powerful movement. And I always try to figure out, you're trying to figure out the source, right? You want to figure out the why of something, which is your approach. I take that same approach with really everything in life. Why the power of government, and even through COVID, we saw so many things we didn't like, but we just had a doctor on who was genius. I absolutely loved him, Dr. Sean O'Mara. And he really disclosed everything he learned in medical school was a farce for real health optimization. And they're almost trained to not go near it. And it's sickening to think about how their mindsets are supposed to react in the marketplace. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's almost like, do they want you sick, Rachel? Is this all a game to get you on prescriptions and get you hooked on foods that are actually addictive on purpose, like cigarettes?
100%. And I don't think necessarily all doctors have the intention of keeping you sick, but I think they've been taught by the big dog ahead of them, and they're following what they know, right?
System
and
it's what they know, right?
It's realizing also too, it's not a doctor's job to keep you healthy; it's their job to keep you alive.
Treat it, yeah.
And that's the big difference between what we really have as sick care versus health care. We go to doctors when we're sick; it's sick care. Healthcare is preventative. It's taking a root cause approach. It's addressing lifestyle. It's helping you reach your most optimal health. Western medicine doesn't help you reach your most optimal health. They treat you when you're sick. And when you're really sick, it's incredible. We need Western medicine, but people confuse the two. Sick care versus healthcare. And then on top of that, we have a food industry that pays no attention to health and a health industry that pays no attention to food. We have doctors prescribing pills and surgeries for problems that are rooted in lifestyle. And then $1 trillion pharmaceutical companies that are prescribing products in pills to really keep you medicated. And there's a whole other agenda that we could dive into with that. But ultimately, I think my mission is really empowering people to understand the difference. Number one, that it's okay to question, and you should question. Be like that kid who's all like, why? Like you get annoyed with that kid, and you're like, because I said so. No, ask why. Ask why, get those answers. Ask why to your doctor. But you should ask why. You should want to understand things. And then functional medicine, Western medicine. I will go to Western medicine if I break a leg. I will go to them if I get cancer. There's a lot of things, but I will still always use functional medicine at the core for optimizing my health, addressing lifestyle-related things. And then the third thing I'd say is empowering people to take massive ownership over their life to create the health they want. Those are my core mission on what I do.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. I totally agree. Okay, real quick before you go, I just want to tell her something. I think it's really good. Okay, so we just had Dr. Robert Malone on our show. He's literally the inventor of the mRNA vaccine technology and DNA vaccine technology. Literally on the cutting edge of potentially something that's big, but he dropped a huge bomb on Joe Rogan during COVID when he came out and he spoke against his own technology and saying this is not right for the general public right now. And again, he got just ridiculed. He went up against a powerful way, but he said something that was interesting that's never left my brain. He talked about the executives, and this was a whistleblower and all this stuff, none of this, there's no cameras in the courtroom. It was a whistleblower, and none of the media took this, but I just want to get this point out. When you talk about what you're up against, but at this drug company, the CEO at the C-suite executive level, a memo went out to all of them to not take the vaccine that they're telling the world to take and prescribe. That bothered me so much to think about these people. It's one thing to be ignorant and really to believe in the thing that's not actually right. Yeah. It's another thing to knowingly push this on people, but then say, hey, don't let your families take it. The secret memo that somehow got leaked, and then it did. That went to court. These people are protected under bizarre rules too, because it was all emergency shit. All the veil of secrecy and the allowances for when there's presidential power that comes down from emergency use in this world. But there's just so many examples of something that is so evil. So how I bring that down to Rachel here is she's given you the tools and the power to not be a slave to these people's systems and processes that they're all getting rich on, but they're not taking their own medicine. That's what really fucking bothers me. Yeah. But your tools can keep you living outside of the matrix is the best way to describe it. You taking extreme ownership of your life, knowing what's going inside your mouth is the best medicine a human can take, quite literally.
Truth.
Anyway, I had to say that. My piece.
Yeah. Well, even just to build off that, it begs the question. Like because I'm listening to everything you're saying. I'm agree 100%. Yes. I love your mission. Love this. But this is a tip of the hat to you, because there's a ton of our listeners. There's this subset of people who value holistic health. They get it. They get what you're saying. But very few, so there's those who know about it, but very few implement it. And fewer still actually create a thriving business. Even though there's this massive need out there, people could fail at what you're doing, and you're succeeding incredibly well.
Yeah, she built a hell of a brand.
And you've revealed a few things, like you're really clear on your core mission in your business. But if you were to just like withdraw back and assess yourself and just share with the audience, like in true humility, but honestly, like, here's why Rachel is killing it. Mm-hmm. Like, here's what she's doing. Here's how she's serving people. And yeah, like
permission to brag.
Like, yeah, brag, but like, brag. I want to know, like, because there's a lot of men and women out there that love functional medicine, or they love the biome and they love this, but they have no idea how to pair that into a very successful business. Like, why are you killing it?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons. It's not just one, of course, but I think one, I look the part, right? I
Honest, it's true. I love that you started there.
You are what you
You're
preach.
being a steward of one of your biggest assets is your health and beauty. Is it not?
Like I look the part. I live it. I breathe it. And I am the walking example. Even when I was doing just fitness coaching, I would get people who would walk up to me in the gym and be like, Rachel, I want to work with you, because they saw me and they were like, I want what you have.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm the living, breathing example. I am the representation of what many people want. And then I think too is the story. Not only am I that, but I'm not painting a picture of just always being perfect. I'm painting the picture of, I know what it's like. I've struggled. I've been there. I've been the person who lost my health. I've been depressed. I've been medicated. I almost had my large intestine removed. I've been that desperate.
So relatable.
And I had to heal through that. And I've came out on the other side. So I also give people not only the representation of what's possible, but I also give them hope, a roadmap, because I've done it before. And then I think that has helped me incredibly with my brand. And then outside of that is just like my work ethic, my willingness to take massive action, to bet on myself, right? I did good building my business, getting to $6,000 a month as a one-woman show. But I didn't know anything about growing a business. Like I went to Baylor for nutrition and dietetics. They don't teach you anything there. So I was like, okay, who does know? And I hired that person. And as a byproduct, I learned an insane amount about how to grow a business. And now I have a mastermind, and I help other fitness, nutrition, and health coaches now grow their own online business. I had built a following. You know, I really focused on that actually when I was, I think like 22. I started really growing my brand. Like, it always was about fitness and nutrition, what I was passionate about. And it was never like personal to me. And I'll throw personal things in there. But immediately, like I had that direction I knew I wanted to move into. I grew that. And then I was able to kind of pivot and focus more on building my brand and my business once I had clarity on what I wanted for that. And then I think too, I've done a really good job with creating connections with other people.
Yeah. I would add, because we had some pre-show banter that was pretty good. You were speaking my language, especially as I pursued this concept of stepping into the light, bearing my soul to the world, which is one of the things that I think stops so many people from achieving the levels of success that might be in their cards if they really understood the power of this whole concept of building a brand and really stepping into the light with that. So many people play in that safety bubble, which I always talk about, because they're so afraid of what the barbarians are going to say or do, and it really keeps them trapped. And people are going to be slaves to this, no matter how much we talk about it. It is one of the most common things in humanity you see, where people stay small and stay trapped because they're so afraid of what people think. You weren't immune to this emotion that I also feel as I step out into the general public and put my face out there. Like, there's so many imposters in my own head that try to get me to go that way. And somehow I've been able to continue to move forward. And I know that you've had that same experience with the sort of the fear of stepping out into the light. And your ability to do that is what's attracted all these eyeballs from all over the place. And those eyeballs, that's attention. And somehow now you're converting that attention into a business that's really helping people. You do what you say you're going to do. You are what you say you are, which is powerful. But it's also that connection between the version of you that's out in the limelight, like bearing their soul to the world. A lot of people won't understand the power of that move. And I realize like that's actually probably everything, to being able to separate yourself from the herd of people that are trying to do what you're doing.
I'd even say I have a fear that probably trumps all other fears, and that's getting to the end of my life and being on my deathbed and saying, man, I wish I would have gone for that. I wish I would have done that. Like, I know 100% I will never be that person who's on my deathbed and has that thought, well, what if? I will never be that person. So like that fear trumps every other fear when it's come to public speaking, which scares me to death. When it comes to going after my business, you know, I always weigh that answer. I'm like, is this going to be something I'm going to look back on and wish that I did?
Yeah.
There's my deciding factor right there in that moment.
Death is
So
a gift.
that fear, everything over everything.
What a blessing! Your conviction, like you know, you will not be that woman.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people play with this idea. But what I catch in the authority behind what you're saying is you're convicted.
I think your mic disconnected.
My mic or yours?
Yours.
I hear him perfectly.
Weird.
I'll speak for you.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
He was talking about your conviction.
Go on.
Your
It's
conviction.
just, it's not like you hear it from the room.
Oh,
We'll
you
cut that part
okay?
out. I say we'll cut that part out.
Well,
As if it's mine.
One thing,
It's
Rich, I
okay.
know we're coming up to the end here, but you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. One thing,
Yeah, I don't know.
one thing that we preach a lot is this concept of connecting pain to progress and forward momentum, and using that as a powerful energy tool. Death, which is one of the most beautiful motivators in the world because it strips off all the things on the chessboard that don't really matter. And then mission. Like to me, this is sort of my formula for one of the things I see in people that I admire that are doing big things with big foundations. And I think a mission is how you really tie the whole thing together in such a beautiful way, because this is where you can bring a unique love and real meaning into the world. I would love to maybe, I think we're coming up to the end, but really end the show with something centered around your mission. Like what is Racheer Scheer's mission here? What's the end game here for you?
You know, I used to think of my mission as just helping people heal, and I think that's an avenue of my mission.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, I'd like to see people reach their life that they want to create for themselves. You know, when it comes to their health, right? It's healing so that they can chase their dreams, so they can be the mom they want to be, so that they can feel the way they want to feel every single day, so they can do all of these other things in their life.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the symptoms. It's not just about the physical health. It's about everything that it's taking away from with that person. So it's helping people, I know it sounds cliche, but reach their potential. But through starting with health as their foundation, it's really a heal and a reveal.
Oh, beautiful.
And I just get so much out of it, even for myself, like, because ultimately I've taken all the things that I've walked through. So I took my own health story of almost having my large intestine removed to then learning to grow a business. And I've taken all of those things, life experiences, and I've turned them outward. And I think that's what conscious entrepreneurship is really about. It's about taking the things that we walk through, healing from them ourselves, walking through them ourselves, and then being able to turn them outward to help other people do the same. And there's so much fulfillment that comes from it, because then you get to look back and say, you know what, that makes sense why I went through that thing, why I had all of those health issues. It makes sense, you know, all of these things that happened in my life. And so it's healing for me, and then it's healing for other people. And I think that's how we make the world a much better place. And then God at the center of it all.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that mission reminds somehow.
Heal and reveal. Yeah.
I think your mute's on. On my end, I see a little mute at the bottom. Oh, maybe that's why.
That's maybe what happened, because I could hear you through, like, you know, like almost like his mic.
It's Eric. It's actually you disconnected on your computer from these somehow.
I did.
No, keep it there. It's just we have.
Okay. Well.
That makes sense.
I still have good audio.
Okay.
Well, we still
Not
caught
cute,
what
huh?
she said there. I just want to, can you catch what I'm saying over there? I just want to say, and I know we're wrapping now,
She
but
can't
like,
hear you, I don't think.
okay. Then talk about Heal and Reveal, or,
can hear
or
that.
you wrap the show.
Well, I was going to say your mission reminded me of a really powerful quote that's always stuck with me. My friend sent me this randomly, Gia McCool, but she said 95% of the population live their entire lives and never live the way they want to. That was actually a Bob Proctor quote originally, but Gia sent that to me. And it's just interesting how your mission sort of, in a sense, speaks to that. It just popped off in my mind, but your mission serving, knowing that statistic is a fact and connecting that you don't want to get to the end of your life and not live the way you wanted to, that is something that most people, unfortunately, are going to have a lot of regret in the end, is because all these scary things that you're doing that people know they should be doing, they ought to be doing, deep down, like they know they should, they're not doing them. And they're living an entire life controlled by fear or the projection of all these insecure thoughts into other people that like make them live so small.
And I didn't even really get to share this, and maybe this will be part 2 of a podcast that we do.
Okay.
But I think a big part of why this mission is such a big mission for me too is I actually grew up very broke. My home foreclosed as a kid. My parents separated at a young age. I shared a bit earlier about how I lived off of like McDonald's stored Halloween candy. My parents were gone, and I grew up in a very broken home. And really being able to not only create what I've created has now allowed me to want to help other people do that too. So it's not just a heal and reveal. It's, health creates your wealth, but it's if I can do it, you can do it too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing, Rach. This was really cool. It's one of the
That's a
best
part
interviews.
2.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I love dynamic people, and Rachel, you're one of the most dynamic women out there. So congratulations on all your success. You have a huge fan over here. I know Matt's a huge fan. Like, you got fans everywhere. I'm excited to share you with our audience, but where can we send people if they want to get connected with you, if they want to follow you, if they want to maybe do business with you?
Yeah, I'll give you all the links. So website is racheelsheer.com. You can see my functional wellness coaching, my practice, my mastermind. So if you're a health coach wanting to grow an online brand, also it's just for ladies only. And then you can follow me on social media at Racheer Scheer. And then my practice is Racheer Scheer Nutrition.
Amazing. Yeah, you're powerful, Rachel. We really appreciate you. We'll definitely
thank
do
you,
part
Rachel.
2 soon. Thank you so
guys.
much, Rachel.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Okay.
So stay put for Riverside. Let me.
Okay. I forgot, what do we do on that? All right. Hey, all right. Got you. Hey, guys, thanks so much for listening to the show. If you enjoyed Me on a Mission, please like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you go follow Rachel. She's a stud. Anyway, have a good day.
I'm a man on a mission.